Hey, this is Doc David. And one of the things that makes the BetterNow system so effective is that it does three major things. First of all, it helps power up the systems of the body. So just as we have, wonderful cell phones, and what happens when those cell phones get reduced of energy, where finally you get down to 5% or less, and they just stop working, right? Well, the same thing happens in our body. Below a certain level, we don't, our cells don't communicate very much anymore. And when that happens, there's a lot of pain. Just as if you need your cell phone in order to talk to somebody to get the directions, and now you can't because it doesn't even turn on, that's painful. That is emotional pain.
Right.
Well, the same thing happens in our body. So this program is set up to bring the lights back on. All right. When you look at your beautiful loved one and you're like, I don't know if the lights are on.
Right.
Are the lights on? So we want to bring the lights back up. All right. We want to give energy to that cell phone. And what's so interesting is now, if we look at another analogy, is that there are the newest cell phones have several ways to power up. You can put a connection like on the bottom here. This one's a class 2 or whatever, C, USB. All right. But also now you can put it on a plate, which gives an energy, which powers it up too, wirelessly, right? Cordlessly.
Right.
You know about those, right?
Yeah.
Well, our bodies are the same thing. We can ingest food, we break that food down and we can create energy for the system, and better yet, we can power up the system with light. And when you power up the system with light, it's fast. So we can use the energy of the laser, putting it right on the thymus, right on the heart area. And it's brilliant in how it brings up, and it helps the body, what we call the return flow of love. And literally helps the pericardium of the heart be able to receive the blood flow better. So you'll see it on people. If I work with people in a nursing home or who have low energy, I call it, they have that ash gray look, and they're kind of hunched over, there's no vibrancy there. I can put the low level laser on them, and immediately you'll see all of a sudden in 5 minutes, 6 minutes, sometimes less, a little color in their cheeks. You see the blood flow start to happen. We have ways to measure that energy, and it's brilliant how it powers back up. And pain is much less in many areas when that energy of that system. And more importantly, you look at them like, oh my God, mom's got the lights are back on, mom.
Is that what we were talking about in a broader sense, the heart score or the energy score, or combination?
Yeah, one of the ways as a kinesiologist that I have learned is to actually score different organ systems. So we can score an energy system. So I worked with someone at lunch today, and he just drove here from Orlando. When you drive in Orlando, a lot of your energy is going out there. And the energy of his system was a 6. He's all stressed out, and he's a 6 out of a 12. And then I used the low level laser right in the parking lot and brought his energy. As soon as he hits an 8, he took this big, deep breath, like, and you could see his muscles in the shoulders relax. And then when he hit a 10, I call it the thank you, Jesus moment. He's like, oh my God, thank you. And you can just see he's got a reserve now. And then it powered up more until then a 12. Now, what's wonderful about our laser, the BetterNow laser, is that we can put it on this area here, and wherever it sticks, where the quartz, where the lens is hitting the skin, and it sticks on there, there's resistance. That's an area where we need that energy. And when that energy hits a 10, it's funny how it doesn't stick anymore. It just doesn't stick. And when we hit a 12, it's just smooth. It flows like velvet around there. So it's another way to know, hey, did we score that energy? And of course, you're going to look at the person because you're going to see the lights back on them, right? You're going to see that no longer have that ash gray. You're going to see when they're all kind of hunched over a little bit, you're going to see them, shoulders back much better, and they'll look at you like, hey, how are you today? Where before you're like,
where are they?
Yeah, where are they? Come on. Hey, I'm right here.
I'm looking right at you, but where are you? Yeah.
Exactly.
So. Is there a setting on there for time, or is it a time limit that you just have to realize, oh, I'm feeling full powered up?
Okay, so the cool thing about our laser, if we turn it on, this one immediately just shows 30 minutes. Does it say 30 or is it backwards?
I see 30, yep.
Okay, great. So I can increase the time or decrease it. There's 40, 45, 50, 55, and we can go as high as 60 minutes. So we can do that, but then we have a direct feedback from the body that when it sticks less or doesn't stick at all, we're at that energy of a 10 mark or better.
Okay.
All right. And that's what I call I want all the men in my life, all the women in my life, a 10 or a better. I want their reserve tank of energy all the way up to the top. So, and people ask, well, what's that like? I said, well, when you're 60% and someone says, hey, let's take a walk around the block, you're going to go, really? But if your tank is 80% or more, you're like, yeah, sure. And if it's a 10 or better, they're like, come on, let's go. Way different. So, and it doesn't mean they have more energy and they're jittery, like they're on coffee, like, woohoo, It's just they have a reserve, they're ready to go, and life's good. So now a side thing, if you're an athlete, oh my God, when you are a 10 or a better, and now you work out or now you compete, way better performance, way better than when you're below an 8, and so, you try and win a tournament when you're a 6 or less. Oh man, you're giving it all.
Yeah.
So
is it different for each person? Maybe depending on where the person's at or what their starting level is, how long it's going to take the light to get them up to that 8, 10 or higher?
Yeah, everyone's going to be different. The more healthy they are, the faster they'll fill up with light. So if I'm working with someone in a nursing home for the first time, it might take 30, 40, 50 minutes. But you know what? There's not a better game in town.
Yeah. Is it cumulative too? So you've been working with that same person for 2-3 weeks. Does it take less time under the light as it
exactly
builds? Okay.
Every time we do it, they tend to fill up faster and leak less. So here's another analogy. So I went to the mountain, I put up my arms, and I said, God, fill me with light. And the voice says, I am, but you're leaking.
Okay.
So you don't know how much you're leaking. All right. Now, if we did thermography of someone, we would see hot spots. Hot spots are red, orange, and that's where they're actually leaking energy. Too much heat coming out of the body, literally. And if it's cold, there's very little microcirculation or circulation in that area. So if we use the laser, we'll see the hot spots get cooler, the cool spots get warmer. It's kind of cool. So
nice. So and there's counterbalance that the body wants to be, where it's in a good homeostasis instead of leaking heat energy here and being cooler in some other spot.
Exactly. And the laser light tends to be accumulative, right? So if we work today, and then if we work again tomorrow or the next day or whatever, it tends to accumulate. And that's why the stickiness, having that feedback directly on the skin, is so important. So,
okay. And it's a simple thing that somebody can feel without having to have it thousands of hours of practice.
Basically, within 4 minutes, you'll know the difference between stickiness and non-stickiness.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
Definitely worth that time investment.
Yeah, it's super fast. You don't need to be a practitioner and have 20 hours of, training and another 20 hours of working with the master. No. We're talking 4 minutes you're going to know right away if it's sticky or not, you know. And that's one of the other beautiful things. It is amazing to have a child, a young adult, a 6-year-old hold the laser, put it on the heart of the mother or the grandmother, or put it on the head or the back of the head, or in many of our dementia cases, we're actually, doing this. We're actually kind of like rubbing the hair, right?
Right.
And not only is that comforting, just like when they were younger, they would have their hair stroked. Everybody likes their hair stroked, right? But they have that massage with light, and what a difference, because the coherency from the light of the laser plus the quartz, that's the quartz lens, getting the energy going through that. Wow, does that just kind of create, the chaoticness of how that is engineered? It just flows. It just flows. Just like if you keep on stroking the hair starts to be combed and it starts to stay there. The same thing with the energy of the system. When you're working with a dementia case, Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, it's all over the place. All right.
Right.
So you're smoothing that out. And that's why first treatment, we'll see a noticeable difference. We'll see it.
Yeah.
We'll see them power up. We'll see cognizance change. We'll see the lights go on. We'll see, all of a sudden, hey, there's someone behind those eyes a little bit. We'll see a little smirk. And
there's dad, there's mom, grandma's back.
Yeah. Hey, and that's literally, hey, they're back, and if they're jokesters, it's always fun because they'll
right. Play possum and then come back quickly.
Oh yeah, believe me, it's really funny, So they're because they're kind of cognizant, like, hey, I'm coming back here and I'm gonna mess with them. So
rule again. What happened? Oh.
This is a story related to that. So I met a gentleman. His name was Robert or Bob Card, and he was in the Gilroy, California area. And it was one of the first conferences or workshops that we had almost 40 people to. And it took 2 people to bring Bob to one under one arm, one under the other arm, to literally help Bob come in, and they place Bob right in the front row of this workshop.
Almost,
and I'm looking at
the wounded soldiers in the field.
That's exactly what it was. Now, Bob had a heart disease issue, and they wanted to operate, but they knew if he did, he would most likely die on the table. So they basically told him that put his stuff together, because he's not going to be living, not even probably a week. So they brought him in. He had this ash gray look, and he's kind of hunched over. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to die on my, he's going to die at this workshop. He's going to die on my shift. I'm not into this.
Right.
So,
at the health workshop, guy drops dead in the front row.
Yeah, it wasn't good. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm new to this world, and many people knew Bob or saw Bob. All right. So, and they saw him hunched over. So I turned on the low-level laser, and I did it with this thing that gave a Schumann wave, or the theta wave, which is what our newest laser does. And I put it right on his heart. Okay. Now, at that time, it didn't have a lens for the stickiness or any of that. So we just put it on that area. And in 3 minutes, I noticed that Bob went from this horrible ash gray nursing home drool. I mean, literally, he's a little spittle coming down. And I was like, shit, man, he's going to die on my shift. He started getting a little color. And then I kept on. Now, at that time, ours, remember, it starts out at a 30-minute session, right? Back then, it started out at a 3-minute session. All right. So every 3 minutes, I got to keep on hitting the button in order to keep on turning it. So by the third session, or the third 3-minute thing, or 9 minutes, Bob had a little color in his cheeks, and he was kind of back, and he let out something that I just was floored by. I mean, his nickname, well, his last name was Card. He was a card. He said something and the whole room cracked up. And I looked at him. I said, "Who are you?" He goes, "I don't know, but I'm back."
No.
So we went on about 35, maybe 40 minutes of Bob using that laser. Every person in that room could tell a difference where Bob started, where Bob was. Bob stood up by himself, and he was able to walk out of the room unassisted.
Wow.
That's huge. This guy's got a cardiovascular disease, all right, that the doctor said, "Goodbye. We can't help you. You're going to die on the table." And Bob's back. So that family demanded a laser right away. And someone there lent them theirs because it took 3 days to get him one, but they lent them his. The next day, Bob, who couldn't even get out of a chair alone, all right, needed 2 people, is now walking around the block. Half a block first, then a full block, then 6 blocks, then 10 blocks. And Bob was a different person. When he went back to his doctor about a month later or so, they said, "Hey, you're so healthy now, yet your heart is doing so well now, you don't even need an operation." They couldn't believe it.
Wow. Yeah. They might have been a little surprised that he's alive coming in because they thought he was.
Absolutely. They were shocked he was alive. They were shocked at how he was. And then they were incredibly shocked that he didn't need their help at all anymore. None. So now he still continued his medications, which is important and all that stuff.
Right.
So, but Bob had a very, very productive life. The next 2 years were incredibly productive.
He was energized again. Back in
he was back.
His
he
level
was back
or higher.
And he used the laser as his portable charging station in order to bring him back. And then he was able to digest his foods better. He was able to, his heart started working, and he was able to do it on his own. Now the laser still helped him. So cool. Now his wife kind of told me in confidence in about 2 weeks, she goes, "I love him back, but he is an asshole." So
win some, lose some, huh?
That's it. And hey, he's alive and he's doing great, but he's an asshole, so
yeah.
But he was a card, man. He I wish I remembered his jokes. I was like, where did you come from? Like, did you just beam down here?
Right.
In a way he did. He charged himself up, and now his spirit truly could come through,
Yeah.
So way different. And his life and his family, just amazing changes for the next 2+ years. So amazing.
Excellent use case for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. So that is a really big thing, is how do we power up? How do we get our cells charged up? How do we get our mitochondria, our little power plants, moving again? Well, we can do it with light. In this case, portable light that you can put on anytime. I like to call it, like in Bob's case, he told me he slept with his laser. All right. He slept with it. Now, why would he do that? Because first thing in the morning, his energy's low. So he would put it on so he could get out of the bed unassisted now.
Was that he had it on his nightstand, or he had the laser on overnight while he was
Well, he had it on his nightstand, or he would wake up, and now at that time, that device, we had another mode on it, and that was the one to help with serotonin and dopamine, and also to help sleep. So he would use the sleep to help him go to sleep, and then he would use it on rising to help get his energy back up to an 8 or a better. Back then, I didn't score people. All right. I could have, but I didn't know enough to score them. And we didn't know that we could put a special lens on here, to be able to check the stickiness of the body. Didn't have that information. We just turned it on and said, hey, do it for 3 cycles, do it for 4. And, you'll feel it, and the person would take, when they hit that 10, they would be going, like I said, it's that, oh, thank you, Jesus. You're just in gratitude. You're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
And that gratitude is a couple things. It's not only the energy to the system, but also in this case, we have a circuit on here, which helps the brain go into a theta state. And when we're in a theta state, that's peace. We feel at peace when our brain state changes to a theta. So it truly becomes like an incredible meditative state, and or for our bodies, rest and digest. We're very much in our parasympathetic, right? So in our nervous systems have a pedal to the metal accelerator, and we got brakes. All right, rest and digest. That's parasympathetic, and then sympathetic is the turn on the system.
Adrenaline, get going.
Right, exactly. Or first thing in the morning we develop cortisol, and that's to get us up out of bed. Right, but too much cortisol all the time, not good.
Right, start packing on the fat. Yep.
So the other thing is that theta, also I call it giving the body the green light to heal.
I got
red light, inflammation, right? Inflammation. Pedal to the metal. We're putting the red lights on. Hey, you got to stop. You got to stop. So, right? It's not Toro like, hey, let's go through this light. No, stop. And we're not. All right. And the body, when it's inflamed, doesn't do that. But when it's in a theta state, then the inflammation reduces or may not be there. So, and the laser helps brilliantly to give that green light for the body to heal, to be in that theta, to be in that delta state. So this one is tuned for that. I mean, you can buy any other number of lasers, but they're not going to be tuned to theta. They're not going to have a program to help that. This is what makes ours so special.
Like you're saying, it's got the settings for the amount of time, the specific points on the body, and the BetterNow, people are getting the benefit of that 20 years of testing it out, seeing how it does with people, and then figuring out the program that's going to work for most of the people most of the time.
Correct. And then we have this quartz lens and then a circuit to work with that, so we can let the organicness of this incredible computer be able to actually change 100 times per second. I know that sounds a little wild, but the bottom line is to be able to work with the body, to be able to help the body where it's at now. That's the important thing.
Yeah. So that's what even most medicines and doctors do, is the food to that medicine, and also the immune system that God gave us is the best healing mechanism. Even with all of the scientific advancements and all the research, most of it still is, at least in part, or the major part, looking to kickstart that immune system for the body to heal itself.
That's the ideal. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen. In fact, a lot of times we shut the immune system down when
Right. We don't need to go too deep into that rabbit hole.
No, I think that'd be better if we didn't.
A lot of conspiracies around that, and a lot of truth around that, unfortunately.
Right, exactly. So, but the bottom line is we need to regenerate, and we have a way to do that, to give the body the green light, to be able to calm down, to change the brain state so it can easily and brilliantly calm, rest, and digest. Be in that parasympathetic place, right? Fill up with light, charge back up. When you're charged up, you can do anything. When you're not charged up, you're pushing to do stuff. And when you push, that's when you get hurt. That's when injuries happen. So,
agreed.
So the second thing that we talked about is power up the system is the first. The next is to protect, to reflect, and to give feedback. So one of the things that we have, again, is, something simple. So in this case, it's pashmina and silk. It could be a blanket, right? So, and in here is a special layer of metal, tightly woven. So then these certain radiation waves of cell phones and Wi-Fi's and this crazy stuff that comes off the signaling of our smart meters, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They give off a frequency which is harming for our bodies, and it's on all the time, and it's only needed, for 30 seconds, not even 5 seconds per month for them to pick up how much, how much, calibration of how much we've used of kilowatts or whatever, but it's on all the time. That's crazy. So this protects us. And when it's around us, it protects us from this chaos that's around us. And then it reflects back to the body. Since the body's energy goes out, it hits it. It's like a mirror comes back, and it gives immediate feedback so the body can make changes. And then there's an accumulation of light or accumulation that happens. So as our energy emanates out, it reflects back and it holds in. So we fill up fast. So that's what's so great, is to wear the wonderful, like in this case, the chaos shield. Whoop, only got one hand here. That I'll put the laser now underneath, and then I'll laser in there. So,
okay.
And that's a really big thing that we do. It's subtle, but it's huge. And especially when people have an autoimmune disorder, all right? And a lot of people have autoimmune, meaning their body isn't even recognizing who it is. So if we have something to reflect back who it is to it, it can now make changes. We can change the ship by a little bit on the rudder to really make a big difference in where we're going with that ship, in a positive way. Tremendous. So, and then the third thing that our systems do is to help reorganize. All right. And that's important, and help with the communication of that reorganization. And when you do that, you're able to, I call it time reverse the cells. You're able to, right now, when people heal after a trauma, let's say you're looking this way and you were in a car accident, right? So the next time you look that way, your body's going to remember that trauma, especially when you're going underneath the same traffic light that you just had that, you were stopped at the traffic light making a left and someone, T-bones you, right? Your body's going to remember that trauma, or you're only as good as what the body will let you heal to of that trauma. So with this reorganization, with the BetterNow Dove, the device which organizes vital energy, we're able to help take the trauma out of there so the body can heal as good as it was before the last trauma that happened, and then the traumas before that one, and traumas that before that one. And that's huge. I can't tell you. So all steps work together brilliantly. All steps are independent. Just having the laser can make a huge difference. Just having the blanket to reflect back can make a huge difference. Just having the reorganization, a huge difference. But put one and one and one together, 3, and what do you have now? You have 111. Right? You have multiple ways that you're helping.
You have a whole new system of math.
Absolutely. You have an exponential way that you're helping things. So, and that's why we're able to see such incredible shifts with people who have dementia, who have Alzheimer's, who have Parkinson's. And then we can use these reorganization things to help. Tremendous ways, tremendous. So again, every session can work on itself. Go ahead.
The big 3 steps were: first, power up your energy.
Power up the systems. Right.
Second is protect, and then let the body reflect back so it can start to heal itself.
and get the feedback it needs to know there's something wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So to recognize itself. And then the third is to
reorganize.
Right. A device which organizes the vital energy, right? To help the body heal better than what the body can only heal as good as the traumas that allows it to. So now we're able to help the body heal and remove those traumas so the body can heal as well as it was before the injuries that happened. And all three things help reduce inflammation in the body. All three. So now if you got three things that help do that, wow, they work in tandem. You know, we're all going in the same direction and we're all helping each other.
Yeah.
So
magnified benefit by
absolutely
each together to get.
And it's a miracle just having the light. I mean, that alone, people will be like, oh my God, what a difference that made for my husband, who's having dementia, who has all these symptoms. He can't think clearly, he's not walking well, he's forgetting where they are. They're putting themselves in harm's way. They're putting other people in harm's way, so now they're powered up. You can see the lights are on. You see some connection starting to happen. I like to call it we're in many ways all, we're visiting the earth here, right? And we're all our own power space center, maybe that's not just, we're our own space shuttle. We move around different spaces with our bodies, our shuttle.
Yeah.
When the energies of those computers are down, there's no way we're going to lift off.
Right.
So we power up, we get the energy up, hey, how much energy do we have? Well, shit, we're only down to 25%, impulse power. Well, hey, we need a lot of energy to go to warp speed.
Right. Go to 110%, Scotty.
Right. We need to, right. So there we go. So power up the system. So we have the energies to be up for the system to do what they're intended to do. And there's no medicines out there that help that. There's no medicine you can take to power you up. Now, there are some that give you the illusion, like caffeine, that you're powered up.
What about caffeine or ephedrine or some of those others?
No, but that depletes the energy reserves, right? It's going to deplete. That's why at the end you're like,
like the sugar high, you get a boost and then crash.
Little different, but similar, right? So that it gives a false sense of energy, right? Gotcha. The battery is still reduced. It's just like, whoa!
Lightning hit it. You got that nice electric juice, but then just as quick as lightning strikes, your energy's back even lower than before.
Exactly. Yeah, because now you depleted the system.
I got you.
Those are not giving energy back to the system. No medicine gives energy back to the system, right? Acupuncture, the best that it does is just takes an area of high energy to an area of low energy, and that's good. So this is when you work with an acupuncturist who might do Qigong, who knows how to channel energy, all right, to add energy to that system, right? Or they do moxa. They do, they'll literally light. They'll use a candle. They'll use electrodes, putting it on the literally these little wires, right, with and it goes pop 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 pop, so it literally charges that system with that. Well, that's great. But light's way more effective, I'll tell you that. Now some people can use a TENS unit, so they have these 2 electrodes here, and that will give some energy to the system. That's cool. All right, but it can also burn out the nervous system, the A fibers. Why we do that? Right. So, but it, what the heck? If it's charging a system, that's great, because when our mitochondria goes down, they go down. But light goes right through clothes sometimes, many times. But if you put it on the skin, man, we can put it right where we need it.
Well, so, in the 40 or 50 years since the Russians started this in their research lab, with the space program and how it's developed in the US over the last 20, 25 years, what are the side effects? Have there been any side effects of the light and the laser?
Well, it's interesting because we would call it we call them the 4Gs, right? So the side effects are good working capacity.
To be
right?
distinct from the 4G cell signals.
Right. So
Okay.
so the we don't know of any negative side effects. When you power up a system, what's the negative side effect? Well, Bob Carty's an asshole again. He's got the energy to be an asshole. That's
Gotcha.
right. So,
Yeah.
so, but if the body doesn't have the energy to communicate, not good.
Right.
Not good. So,
all right. Good.
Then the other thing too is when we use the laser to power up, we want to do what we call 6 points. So we'll put it on the TMJ area, and that's really great because that relaxes the muscles. When you put the low level laser on the lowest setting directly on a smooth muscle, that smooth muscle relax, and that's important. So I worked with someone who had colitis, right? So they have irritable bowels. So we put it on the lowest energy on that area, powered up the system, and they could feel all of a sudden that where those muscles were clamped closed just relax. And they were like, oh God, what a difference.
Yeah.
There's many other benefits too, but these are the main ones we're talking about at the moment. So
yeah, very nice. So yeah, that was a good session.
Cool.